Shalom. Today we're going to talk about covenants. The first covenant God cut with mankind, with Adam. The aim was for God to know if we will obey or disobey. So God tempted or tested Adam in order to understand he will obey or disobey. Well, we know that God knows everything, knows the future, but that was the whole story. That Adam was living in perfect harmony and peace with the Creator, and he chose to disobey. So he fell into sin. The sin became the ground for everything, all the evil things that we have in this world, and mainly the wage of sin is death, as Yeshuah said it later. The second covenant God cut with Noah. Noah was a righteous man, a righteous person through his generation. So the second covenant that God cut with Noah, with this righteous man, he showed us that sin has repercussions. Again, the wage of sin is death, as Yeshuah teaches us. The third covenant God cut with Abraham. This is the first time that God shows us, introduces, presents for the first time the gospel through Abraham, another righteous person who went to obey the Lord, went to sacrifice his only son, and that's a shade of what Yeshuah has performed on the cross later on. And the fourth covenant God cut with Moses. And the ultimate goal of this covenant was for God to reveal us the law. We're still under the law. Who told you that we are not under the law? Paul didn't tell us that we're not under the law. He teaches us that we're not under the law of sin and death, that we have life in Yeshuah, who has redeemed us once for all. So, the next covenant that God cut is with David. David was another unique person, a prophet who walked after God's. He has a heart after God's pleasure, God's heart. So on that covenant, God established a kingdom, an earthly kingdom, the earthly kingdom of Israel. And the sixth covenant God cut through Yeshuah, HaMeschiach. And that's the best covenant because we have redemptions of our sins, and you don't need to go and make sacrifices. You don't need to we don't need to make korban in order to, because Yeshuah was the sacrifice. Yeshuah is the law. Yeshuah, he fulfilled the law through his perfect sacrifice. And Abraham and Yeshuah, they make perfect sense, because you remember God has counted Abraham's faith as righteousness. because his righteousness, his faith kissed righteousness. So when we have faith, brothers and sisters, we become righteous in God's eyes. But we don't have faith if we don't do the law of Moses, if we don't perform his commandments. I'm not saying that commandments save us. I'm saying that what Yeshua said actually was that if you want to stay, if you want to be my friends, if you want to be part of the vine, you need to obey my commandments. Whoever is from God, he makes his commandments. So what is the law? His commandments. The law is not separate from commandments. And for many Christians, unfortunately, their Christianity doesn't work because they think that the law of Moses is no longer in power. But Yeshua said, I came to fulfill the law. I didn't come to abolish the law. I came to fulfill it to the full. But Yeshua was talking about the law that the Pharisees and the Sadducees and scribes, they had changed the law and they have made it into another something else. Today we'll have like 1,583 commandments about Shabbat. If you go in a hotel in Jerusalem on Shabbat's day, the lifter will stop on every floor in order for people not to have to push the button, every floor. This is how it has become, You don't light a lighter, you don't put a pen in your pocket. This is nonsense. This is total nonsense. Yeshua was talking about this nonsense. He was not talking about the law of Moses, because he said Moses talked about him. And I agree that the new covenant was the best covenant, but that doesn't mean that the other covenants are not in power. All the covenants have something to say. God has something to say through all the covenants, But lastly, the seventh covenant hasn't been cut yet, but will be established through Messiah, Yeshua, where he will establish his heavenly kingdom in Zion, in heavenly Jerusalem, which will come down from heaven. And that's it, guys. That's it. These are things that you don't usually hear on Sunday sermons. That's the reason I came to record this. I wish you the best blessings and shalom until the next time.